Well, I suppose I should get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this evening's webinar titled Displaying Your Research, Creating Graphs, and Working with Numbers in MS Excel. My name is Jesse Laris, and I have been an instructor with Argosy University Online since 2009 and a librarian with Argosy University Twin Cities since 2001. Before we get started, I would like to make a few announcements. This webinar is being recorded, so I've placed everyone on mute. If you have questions, please feel free to ask using the chat function. This is what I call a mini webinar because it is approximately 15 minutes long. It is not meant to be exhaustive. So after the 15 minutes are over, I will allow 5 minutes for questions. If your question is not answered or if you have follow-up questions after the presentation, please feel free to reach me through the contact information listed on the screen. Also, if you have any particular webinars that you would like to see the library conduct, please feel free to forward your request. As I mentioned earlier, this webinar will cover the topic of creating graphs and working with numbers in MS Excel. And part of what I've tried to do through this undergraduate success series is talk about information literacy and how important it is to you as a researcher. Information literacy essentially is the ability to locate and evaluate and use information effectively. And for this presentation this evening, what we're going to talk about, there's 5 characteristics of an information literate person. And the 2 that we're going to focus on is using information to perform a specific purpose or task. And we've talked a little bit about the plagiarism aspect of it as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about citing and using numbers this evening. So what are some of the reasons that we might want to use Excel? Well, Excel is great for calculating numeric data. You can put the information in and it does a lot of the work for you, where in the old days they had to do that stuff by hand. You can create displays of information, visuals such as charts and graphs, and then that numeric information can help you solve problems. That's part of why we have statistics, is so that we can learn more about, you know, in our case, we might use Excel on a personal level to manage our finances. And so we might realize that, you know, we're spending 90% of our paycheck every month. Well, okay, maybe more like 40% of our paycheck every month goes to pay for our cell phones or, you know, entertainment or what have you. So it allows us to make those kinds of, you know, decisions as to, okay, I'm spending a lot of money, or maybe there's some other reason to use that, some other statistical analysis that you could do. And that's the last piece too, is that there's you can do some statistical, you can work with statistics within Excel as well. In fact, for a quantitative research class I took for my graduate work, that's what they started us out with, was working with Excel for the first, you know, couple of modules. Maybe the first 2 modules we used just Excel before we moved on to more in-depth statistical analysis software. So what I want to do tonight, we're going to give you a little introduction as into what Excel is and what it can do for you. So essentially, one of the big things about Excel is that you can put in formulas to help you calculate your information. And essentially, an Excel spreadsheet is comprised of columns and rows. And so a column is all of the A, B, C, D. Those are your columns, and your rows are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And within those columns, you can put in specific formulas. So, for instance, you can ask it to total a group of numbers, which is the sum function, or you can look for an average, a median, or even look for a percentage. What I'm going to do now is get out of this and jump into an Excel spreadsheet and kind of show you how that works. So we can take that formula and put it into an Excel spreadsheet. So it's just essentially the equal sign, the word sum, and then within a parentheses you would put the cells that you're working with. So I've got B2, and then if I put a colon after that, I can tell it that I want to do from give me the total from B2 to B8. To do that, I just hit enter, and then it gives me that information. I can also go over to this function over here. If you see up to the right-hand side, there's an auto sum, where if I click on auto sum and click on sum, it should give me the total there. Excuse me. So I'll do it again just because I think it was latched onto that information. So it's already asked, do you want to summarize this information here? Click enter, and I do. The same can be done with your average. So if I click on this number here, it auto-summed it by accident, but if I click on average over here, there we go. Okay, we're going to get it to work. There we go. All right, so I can get an average of that. So the average is where it takes all these numbers and divides it by the total set of numbers. The median is where it's looking for, which is a statistical, term. It's looking for the middle. So I could type in the equals, median, so on and so forth. But if I didn't want to do that, there is a search function. You don't see median here, but if you go into more function, you can type in median at the top here. It's already displayed there just because I've done this before. Click go. It's listed there. It's going to ask me if I wanted to do the D2 through the D8, and I'll click OK. And so it's telling me that the 60, just because it's the one that's right in the middle, that's the median number. The other piece that I wanted to show you really quickly is how to do a excuse me. Unhide that, is how to do percentages. Percentages are very easy. So in this case, what I've done is I've taken one of the numbers, like for instance in this case it's the B6 here, and divided that by the total B9. So all you have to do that is use your equal sign, find the cell that you want to be divided, and then what do you want to divide it by? And then you've got 23%, and then we'll do the last one here, equals B8 divided by B9. And I can tell that this is going to be correct, because if I sum it up, it's going to give me 100%. So that's basically how you can manipulate some of the numbers within Excel. Going back to our slides here, let's see, here we are. One of the things that I think is very useful in Excel that you probably get a lot of mileage out of for your classes is creating charts and graphs. And so what I'm going to do now is we'll take, this is a journal article called The Necessity of Information Literacy, and on page 523, I believe it was, there's a section where it talks about times students have used sources of the library during the last year. So I want to key in on the e-journals and the internet. So I've taken this information out of here already, and I've added it to an Excel spreadsheet. So if I go on to this page here, you can see that information is listed here. So out of e-journals, students have never used it 74.5% of the time, so on and so forth. If I highlight this section and I go up into Insert, I've got different charts that I can create. What I like to do right now is create a column chart. And so I'm going to click on column chart, and it's going to give me some choices. I'm going to do a 3D column chart. And so this is what you'll get when you conduct a 3D column chart. Now, as you notice, it's got a lot of the information, but I also want to add this title up here. In order to do that, what I have to do is go into Layout. If I click on Layout, I can go to Chart Title. You can see that none is selected currently. I'm going to add it to above the chart. So what I want to do now is copy that information, and I'm going to just paste it in there. All right. And so now I've got this information here. What I can do now is, if I want to add this to an actual paper that I'm writing, if I go into this Format Chart area, what I want to first do is take the border out. So I don't want any lines around the borders, because that's not APA style. And then I want to change from blue to a different color. You want to use like grays and dark colors if you're going to use this in a paper. So I'm going to change this one to a dark gray. So I've gone into the Format Data. I just clicked on the cells, or I'm sorry, clicked on the line, and then went to Fill, said Solid Fill, and then changed that to a dark gray. And then for my red, I'll just change that. I'll go click on it. you can see that it highlights each one of these. Click on Format the Data, and then go into Fill, and I'll go Solid Line. And for this one, I'll do kind of a lighter color, so there's a little bit of contrast there. So if I close that, now what I've done before the class was created a mock-up of a paper that I could have written. I'll copy this information, go to my paper, paste that information in there. All right, I got to bring back up my information here. What we're going to want to do is change this just a little bit. We'll click on it. We'll go to Format Picture, click on Layout, and I'm going to choose this one here, and hopefully it'll allow me to resize a little bit. And I'm looking to move it towards the center, and this is going to probably draw everything out, but that's okay for now. This is called text wrapping. All right, so I can move that to the center of my paper. Whoop. It's okay. I'm a professional. There we go. Okay, so now you can see that because this is a figure, I had to add information about the figure. So I do figure 1, and then I also have to include it somewhere in my paper, refer back to it. So I just highlighted that now just so you know that you have to do that. All right, so that's how you can take information from a chart or from another paper, create a chart out of it, and then paste that into your particular paper that you might present for your class. Likewise, excuse me, if I want to, and one of the things that with when you're dealing with percentages, another type of document or chart that you can create is a pie chart, and that works really well for percentages. So for instance, in this case, I might do something like highlighting just the e-journals, going to Insert, finding the pie graph, pie chart, and then putting this information, creating another chart. In this case, what I probably want to do is make sure that we include all the information. There we go. That's what I want. I want to add my data labels so that I can tell that it's 1.7% or 3.9% or 19.9%, so on and so forth, what each one of those represents. And from here, if I was doing a PowerPoint presentation, I would take that information and paste it into a PowerPoint, and there you can see that I've already got my figure information. And so this is how I can take data from that particular study and bring it into a presentation that I'm presenting. So to wrap it up, some of the things we talked about are you can calculate data to solve problems and conduct rudimentary statistical analysis with Excel. Excel is great at creating visuals, such as charts and graphs. Oh, wait, I didn't talk about this. Within this presentation, there are also some resources. And I'll send you these links. The first virtual training courses, they've got all kinds of tutorials on Excel. And lynda.com, if you're in, I think it's a lot of the modules, if you see this particular symbol or whatever, it's a link to lynda.com where they talk about all of the Microsoft, they've got tutorials on lots of different Microsoft programs or what have you. So, we talked about being able to cite in an APA style as far as doing that figure is concerned, and then there are those other resources for you. Okay, so at this time, if you have any questions, we can go ahead and ask those. Let's see. I don't see any other questions. Oh, I see. Thanks. Now, there's a question about this being, is this all outlined in PowerPoint? I'm not sure what that means. Let's see. Are there any questions? If you have a question and you want to ask me, if you want to just raise your hand, I can click on you that way. Anyone? Bueller? Oh, there's one. All right, so let's go to Douglas. Douglas, are you there?
Yeah, but I don't think you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can? Oh, okay.
Yep.
I'd like to go back to those links, and I didn't get a chance. Are you going to email them to us?
Oh,
or?
absolutely. What my plan is to send you this presentation, and then also, because I've got everybody's email that signed up for this course, so anybody that didn't sign up for this course, I was still going to send them this the presentation. And then my other plan is to take what I've done this evening and upload it onto my YouTube account, and then send out that link so people can, you know, if they want to refer back to this particular presentation, they can look at it there as well.
Okay, great.
Okay.
That's what I was wanting, those links. Thank you.
Okay, cool. All right, so Jane has a question. Jane?
My question is simply, is what you covered in the presentation outlined in the PowerPoint? Did we literally go through the slides?
Yes. I think I understand what you're saying. I don't know if I included, well, no, I didn't include, like when I went into the Excel spreadsheet and was working with that, like where to click and so on and so forth. But I will.
That might be helpful just for record. I mean, I use Excel and I'm somewhat familiar with it, but I hadn't gone below the auto sum to see those other options. I do it all manually. And there's a couple of other features that you highlighted too that I haven't used. I just thought it might be helpful to have that in the PowerPoint.
Okay. Well noted, and I'm going to write that down actually. Okay. Any other questions?
I think more information is better than not enough. Thank you.
That's true. That's true. Librarians love that. Thank you. All right. So are there any other questions? All right. If there are no other questions, again, I'll give you guys my email and phone number, so on and so forth. That's what librarians are here for, is to, you know, to try to help you either connect with the information you need or to help you succeed in your programs. So please feel free to contact me, you know, with whatever it is. I have no problems, you know, being helpful to anyone. So, all right, with that, well, I'm going to wrap up the presentation. I thank you all for coming. I wish you well in your research. Thanks again. Goodbye.